G'day, Bomber fans. Well, look, the Pies did do the Anzac Day double on us. They beat us on Friday. They beat us last night in another tight game for the most part. Actually, deja vu a bit because it was pretty tight, but then they pulled away late to get a 31-point win. We fought hard. In the end, we lacked experience because Goldie was out, Laverty was out, Sardis was a late out. Maybe that's a sign he's playing next week. But gee, I thought the kids, they showed plenty. And maybe, some of these players are going to join Sardis in the team next week for North if he does play, because there were some awesome performances in the VFL last night, so we're going to talk about it. Here is a very fun VFL recap. Plenty of smiles in this one, I reckon, because there weren't too many bad performances. Starting off with Lewis Hayes, really interesting night. He wasn't always on Mason Cox, but there were quite a few big one-on-one contests between the two, and I don't think Hayes disgraced himself at all. Cox probably won a couple, but so did Hayes. And I think for the first time all year, we can kind of be grateful that he did play in the VFL, because I know everyone wants him to be at the top level, playing instead of Mackay, but he would not have had the opportunity to defend like this on Anzac Day against the Pies. This week he gets to go up against a big forward, or a few big forwards actually. He wasn't on Cox all night. And although he wasn't perfect, I still thought he was great. He had some huge marks, some awesome moments down back. I really liked his game, and he's definitely played better and looked more solid in his time with us, but I don't think he's had many tests quite like this against a proven AFL player. So it was good for him to get that experience. It probably makes him a better player in the long run. And yeah, I mean, he is ready to play AFL. We know that. He's just kind of waiting on an injury. Kayle Gerreyn. Now, this is a guy I'm really starting to get on board with. He was good last week. He was, again, really good this week too. I'm very impressed with his form. And the thing is, right, because I've said a few times this season that it's going to be a season of glimpses and moments. He's a project player. But he has now kicked 7 goals and 5 behinds from his 4 VFL games. And that is an excellent output for, what I'm calling a project player. Because I don't even care about the goals, but 12 shots in 4 games, 3 shots a game, that is awesome. And, even last night, 2 goals, 3 doesn't look amazing, but 5 shots against this Collingwood defence, that is very good. And also him standing up under pressure. He kicked that clutch goal at halftime after the siren to get us back within 2 goals. And when he wasn't dangerous inside 50, he was presenting up the field a bit. I thought that was probably the most, the fittest he's looked this year, which is, standard because it's, the most recent game. But it's also just good to see because I thought, this season would be moments early in games and tiring late. But that wasn't the case against the Pies. It's probably the most complete game he's played. And the good thing is he's playing consistent footy. I think he's probably due a stinker at some stage soon, but yeah, he's flying under the radar compared to Johnson and co. But we got to respect his game more because he's looking like a genuinely promising player for the future. The more he plays, the more his fitness levels will grow, and the more he's going to gain confidence in the air too. The more we'll be able to compliment him on new aspects of his game because we've already started doing that just 4 or 5 games in. Yeah, I think maybe his ruckcraft might need a bit of a touch-up, but also I don't mind him just playing as that pure forward and developing there before that happens anyway. So, yeah, he's looking really promising. I'm definitely on the Gerreyn train. Alwyn Davey Jnr. I thought he was a bit quiet. I know the stats look okay. 14 touches, 2 goals, 3 tackles. But I feel like that flatters him. And that's odd because those stats don't even look that good. So for him to be, 14 touches and that flatters him, that's probably not at the level we need to see for Davey. The guy's, he had good moments. That first goal came out of nothing. And also 2 goals in the 1 quarter at important moments was good. So he stood up when it mattered. We got to give him credit for that. We can't just diss him the whole time. But I do think he needs to be doing more in a contract year. He's in a lot of trouble, I think. He needs to be doing more to get closer to that AFL team and then staying there as well. Remember that. He has to not only make the AFL squad, but stay in it. So he needs to be playing a lot better than this. Okay performance, but he needs to be doing more than okay. He needs to be floating in and out of the game a lot less. And you know what? Similar story to Luamon Lual. I thought Lual was okay. There were great moments. But yeah, he's unfortunately out of contract. We can talk about young guys having games full of moments if they have security, but Lual unfortunately doesn't, so we need to increase our expectations a bit. Because if he doesn't really start performing consistently, he could be delisted. And that isn't harsh, that's just how the business is, that's the truth. I still do see the vision a bit when he tucks the ball under and zigs and zags, and he's got real pace about him. I like him on the wing, that's definitely his position. I think he needs to stay there, but yeah, I think as the year goes on, as we approach the mid-season draft where we add new players to this team, maybe there's a chance he falls behind even more. Let me know what you guys think, because I feel like Lual's an interesting one. He's also someone who definitely impacts off the ball more than we think. I think the VFL coverage is a bit iffy to really see what happens off the ball. And obviously there's a reason he's been the AFL emergency so much, despite not really tearing it up in the Rezzies. Yeah, we'll see. I think plenty of time left in the year, but also it can fly by quickly. If he keeps floating in and out of games like this, it's going to be a very, very fast year, and it'll creep up on him, that contract decision. Rhys Unwin, he was probably he definitely was the quietest of the recent draftees. And that's interesting, because I think he was one of the more prominent ones before the season started. I remember he actually played in the practice match against the Bulldogs, the AFL practice match. So people were talking about a potential debut. And I think lately he's just struggled to really settle in at the level, and that's not an issue. I don't mind that at all. I see glimpses each game that give me enough hope that he'll find form when he needs to. And luckily, unlike with Luamon and Davey, he doesn't really need to find form for a long time. He's got contract security. One thing we do need to talk about, though, the long sleeve Guernseys. Look, I'm a big fan. I think you need one long sleeve Guernsey on your list to be a successful club. But taking a long sleeve Guernsey off at quarter time, that is disgraceful. That is one of the worst things you can do on a footy field. He's lucky he's not suspended. And you know what? He's lucky he's not dropped. If he should play against North, but he should play against them in the long sleeve Guernsey. If he doesn't, I'm ready to delist him. Vigo Visentini, I am absolutely loving this change of role. And, look, it's weird because, Draper goes down, Brian goes down, we're all upset, obviously. But a silver lining comes out in the VFL of all places from it, because Goldie goes up to the AFL. It means Vigo has to ruck more in the VFL, and he is relishing this opportunity. He looks comfortable. That is the key word. He looks comfortable rucking on his own. And I expected that eventually. I thought after, maybe 5 or 10 games, he would start looking comfortable. But it's his second game, and so far, he just looks at home. 21 touches. He led the ground for hit-outs, 5 clearances. Before we get too hyped, I thought he was very messy. There were plenty of head-in-hand moments for Vigo. But also, I think that's just the fact that, he's getting so much more of the ball now. He's more involved, so obviously he's going to be making more mistakes. This time last year, he was getting 5 or 6 touches a game. Now he's getting 15 to 20. And even with all these new mistakes that we're seeing, I think the thing I like most about his game is that we're seeing him evolve more on the run. Last week, I talked about the fact that he was kind of, working hard to be that uncontested link in a chain, which is not really the role a ruckman should be doing. This week, he was kind of being that presence behind, back of the ball a bit more, like what Brian was doing in the AFL. There were times where he was, around the pill in the air after a Pies rebound, and yet sometimes he would drop a mark or go early or go late. It wasn't always working, but he's getting in the right areas. He's working hard around the ground. Yeah, the more he keeps playing as the sole ruck, the more likely it is that we see him play AFL minutes, and that's just, I think he still got a long way to go, lots to work on, but he is a lot closer than he was this time, 2 weeks ago. Zak Johnson, look, very, very, what a steal. This guy was pick 70, by the way, pick 70, and he's probably best on ground. 33 touches, kicks, that goal, by the way, oh my goodness, that is if you take a freeze frame of where he marks the ball and he has that Collingwood player on him, if you told me he kicks a goal from that, I don't know if I'd believe you. But the awareness to shrug him off like that, play on, kick from outside 50, absolutely nail it. Yeah, this is a player. And look, the question now is should he make his AFL debut soon? And you're not wrong if you say yes. The way I see it, there are parts of his game that are AFL level. He is a fantastic player at his best. I do think there are some parts of his game that aren't AFL level yet. I think it's as simple as the fact that he's great at his best and also just developing. He's lucky enough to have significant strengths that make him so damaging while he develops. He's best on ground while he does so. But yeah, I think he has to hone in on his defensive craft more. He could also minimise those dinky and cute little lofted corridor kicks. I think there were a few times where he was trying to be a bit too tricky. He got a bit too cocky, and that's okay. It's his 4th game in the VFL with no contract restraints. He can do what he wants when he's playing that well. At least he's trying things, is the way I see it. But if I'm the coach, and I know plenty disagree, and I don't even know if I'm right in saying this, but if I'm the coach, I'd probably give him a few more weeks in the VFL. I just think he's going to play AFL footy at some stage, maybe this year, maybe next, but I'd like to see him really work on those weaknesses more before that happens, and that way he's hungrier and more determined by the time he gets his chance. So yeah, I'm absolutely loving what I'm seeing from Zak Johnson, and the great thing is, we're not surprised. 33 touches and a goal, and no one is surprised. We knew this was going to happen, and it's probably going to happen, this time within the next month as well. Saad El-Hawli, so he was dropped to the VFL after 3 straight sub performances, and that run of sub games, by the way, can really mess with your tank a bit on the first game back. I know that they do the running after a game to get the movement in the legs, but it's not the same. So I was never really going to be too harsh on Saad, judging him. I wasn't expecting 30 disposals in a 3-goal game. Although early on it was looking like it. He had that awesome set shot from the boundary. I loved that. And then he went on to miss, 3 sodas later in the game. I feel like it was a bit of an almost night for Saadi. I feel like he was close to having a real say on the game, but didn't quite get there. And look, I think it's probably better for him this way. That way, if he was BOG, he could have, gone back and been sub in the AFL again. But this time, because he's, hasn't played at his best, we get to see him play consecutive full matches in the reserves. And I think that's just more beneficial for a player like Saad, who just needs to play more footy. So yeah, he wasn't near his best, had some great moments, had some shocking ones. On to next week. Jayden Nguyen, it was a busy day for the back 6, and he had some tough matchups and had a lot to do. He was really made to work at times. The good thing about Jayden is that you just know he's going to do the work required, though. He's probably the most reliable player in terms of effort. And although he wasn't really winning the ball that much early, I didn't think there was a huge shift in his game when he did start winning it. I feel like in terms of his stats, his second half was more impressive. But I personally saw that defensive presence and effort all the way through, so that is good. The fact that I'm not really noticing him based on disposals as much as other players. But it was good to see him get his hands on the pill a bit as the game went on. That's going to help his confidence. He continues to be the most enjoyable player to watch in the Rezzies, though. Even this game where he wasn't really, no one's going to remember this one too much. It's just fun to watch. He just goes about it in a different way to other players. And also, I thought he was one of our cleaner players. There were a few kids that were a bit messy, as I've talked about, but Nguyen, for the most part, was solid when disposing of the footy. And finally, Archer Day-Wicks, he followed up last week's absolute stinker with a bounce-back game. And that, a good game is good. We love a good game. But a good game following a bad one is, that's great. It makes a good game great. And he was good from the get-go, pushing high up the field, often leading into that centre square to get the pill in the middle of the ground. He's a really nice, or not even a nice user, but he's just a good decision maker. So he was often making good things happen, or if he wasn't, he was close to making good things happen. And that's something I like. The fact that, if he does turn it over, at least the intention is there to make something happen with it. Obviously, I don't want to see someone hack the ball out and generate intercepts and turnovers for the opposition, but Day-Wicks was trying to change the angles and get us going in creative ways. You can see why he's in contention to play AFL footy when he has the ball, because he genuinely does make good things happen. And I think he actually led us to score involvements, by the way, so that tells you that. But yeah, maybe it was a bit of an almost night inside forward 50. He had a few missed chances, and that's the story of his season. He's kicked 2 goals, 8 for the year now. But no, it was great to see him bounce back after a really bad game last week. It's very promising. He's another who looks like an absolute steal of a pick. But yeah, that is that. Really promising night of footy despite the loss. We got to remember that these kids were pretty much going at it alone. We had key players out. We were very young. We were lacking experience, and they still looked up and about, which is awesome. No one was really that bad, which is a nice change on, last week where we had to scrape the bottom of the barrel for positives with a few. But yeah, all these guys are developing really, really well. If they are playing badly, they're bouncing back the next week, which is great. Yeah, this is probably the most promising batch of draftees to come through the club in a long time. So let's keep watching the VFL, keep getting around it. Cheers for watching, Bomber fans. Make sure you like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky, by the way, everything Essendon, because I do updates for every VFL game. And as always, go Bombers.